Hey, what's up guys? Tactical Pickle here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the coolermaster Hyper 212 LED CPU cooler. Quite a mouthful. So I decided it was about time to actually upgrade my cooling situation because recently I came across this MSI Z170A Crate gaming motherboard for my CPU. And the cool thing about this is a Z series motherboard, which allows me to overclock my i5 6600K. Now, just taking a look at it, this is the stock cooler for Intel CPUs. Not very impressive, gets the job done, but if you want to do any form of overclocking, which this board is designed to do and what I want to get into do, you definitely need better cooling, or you're just gonna fry your CPU, which you don't want to do. So that's why I decided it's time to upgrade to this. So let's go ahead and open this bad guy up. Box there. Set that back there. Alright. So let's check this bad guy out. Whew. Man, this thing is hefty. Now let's just take a second to admire the difference in cooling capacity. So for one, it's got a huge fan compared to the stock one. And this is the heat sink that presses down upon the CPU there, and this one actually uses heat pipes. Let's go ahead and remove this so we don't forget to do that at a later point. So this part is what actually makes contact with the CPU. And these copper pipes here draw the heat away. Let me center that up a little bit. So it draws the heat away through these copper pipes and comes into these fins here, which is massive. Massive compared to the heat fins on this guy. It's a lot more area to cool, which should allow for way better cooling situations. And the large fan here blowing across it should keep our CPU nice and cool. Plus this fan here actually has a red LED, as you can see in the box there. I wish I had blue, but I'm okay with red. My case fan is blue, my system is white. With this being red, it'll be, red, white, and blue, kind of cool. So, quite a big upgrade. Alright, now I got everything set up. So, here we go. We got our new cooler. Got the support bracket that goes on the back side of the motherboard. Got the motherboard. I already cleaned off all the old CPU paste, cooler paste. We got the two angle brackets, which are used for the Intel motherboards. Since this i5 6600K, it's the LGA 1151 socket. So went ahead and pulled out the hardware we needed for Intel. Then you got your 4 standoffs here, and then this thing's pretty cool. It's the standoff tightener, which is kind of cool. You fit it on there and got the Phillips head on that side. We got our 2 fasteners right here that actually attach this to our CPU cooler to mount it. Got our number 2 Phillips and some CPU paste. I went ahead and I'm not going to use the one that came with it. It does come with some, but I'll go ahead and use my own. Alright, so first things first, we removed the sticker that was on the base here. So let's go ahead and prep this guy for the install. So you see these 2 countersunk holes on the bottom here. So what you're gonna do is let's go ahead and actually, first things first, let's go ahead and remove the fan. So you got to be careful. Got these 2 little tabs here and here. I guess they're really easy to break, so you just want to lift them up kind of carefully. Make sure they don't pop back into place. Let's go ahead and set that down. Come on. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and pop that off. ahead and set that out of the way. That way we're working with just the heat sink itself. So, first things first, what you want to do, you want to take this guy. Let's go ahead and get that centered up here. So we're going to make sure you want these screws facing down. So we're going to go ahead and line it up with the hole. Check it to the bottom there. We're going to grab one of our little countersunk fasteners. Go ahead and stick that in there. And then go ahead and tighten it down. Set it down. Alright. Where are you at? Come on. There we go. Now we're all lined up. Oop. Let's go ahead and get it decently tight. Alright. So we got that one in place. I'm going to flip it over. Do the same thing to the other side. Make sure these are facing down. Line up our hole. Alright. Okay. Get the fastener in there. Alright. Tighten it down. Oop. Wow. Good thing I was paying attention. You guys can make fun of me in the comments below as I just said to make sure these are standoffs are facing down. And here I go, almost installing it upside down. Alright. Let's see. There we go. Now we're good. Okay. Make sure, okay, that's nice and tight. Make sure that's nice and tight. Alright. So now that that's done, we're gonna actually come over to here, and on the instructions right here, alright, where are we at? So right here on the instructions, there we go. It tells you that center hole is for the LG1 or LGA, excuse me, 115X socket series. So since this is 1151, we are going to have to adjust each one of these standoffs here to the center hole. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull out or push, either way. And you're going to want to slide it, make sure it ends up in the center hole right there. So make sure we do that with each one of these. It's spring loaded, so once you pop it out, you can kind of slide it along until you feel it pop into place. Alright, so that looks good. Those two are good. Oh. That's pretty easy. There we go. Ooh, too far. There we go. Come on. Ooh. There we go. Alright, so this one is pretty much good to go. The next step, though, is we're going to have to put the support bracket on the backside of the motherboard there. So this requires an adjustment as well, depending on the CPU socket on the motherboard. Each side is labeled by the specific manufacturer, so this can be used on AMD platform as well as Intel. So right here located, you probably won't be able to see it. Right there it says AMD. This side here says Intel. So we actually already have these 4 standoff clips already installed, and then those need to be adjusted as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. Get the instructions open. As you can see right here on the instructions, it's telling you where this clip needs to slide in each one of these grooves, depending on what CPU socket series. Since we're LGA 115X, we're going to shoot for that center one already, or the center one. But as you can see, it was shipped to me already all set up that way. So they're all on that center clip spot. So let's go ahead and install this. So as you can see, you got your little standoff screws that are actually going to come through the back of the motherboard. So let's go ahead and flip this guy over. So these are the 4 mounting holes that generally your CPU socket, or excuse me, your CPU cooler would come through and attach. So this support bracket, what you're going to do is you're actually going to line it up and you're going to feed those through there. And if you got it all set up correctly, it should, you know, go right through, and you're left with your standoff screws on this side poking out. So what you do is you take your standoff screws, you go ahead and thread it on there. Right. Go ahead and thread it on there nice and good. Move on to this next one. You don't need to do it very tight. That'll be the next step. So let's go ahead and get that semi-tight. Okay. Now you always want to tighten in a star pattern. It'll give it even pressure across. Okay. And last but not least, whoop, top corner here. Okay. Now, all right. So this next step, I'm gonna go ahead and set the motherboard down. Be a little bit easier. So you're gonna take your little standoff screw and tighten it up by hand the rest of the way. And then you can take your screwdriver, plug it in there. Just give it a good, not too tight. You don't want to crack the board, but you know, tight enough that you feel comfortable doing. You know, not too tight. There we go. Remember, star pattern, so you want to do like a X pattern actually. So we started with this one, jump across to over here, and you jump to this one, and then lastly at that corner. Like I said, it gives it kind of an even tightening pattern. All right. Nice and tight. Lastly here, let's go ahead and, all right. Okay, now we're good to go. All right, so there we go. We got our 4 standoffs right there, all set up and good to go. Got the support bracket on the back here. Oh, sorry. Got our support bracket mounted on the back. Now that'll keep it, because this is a very hefty cooler, so you're gonna have quite a bit of weight pulling on it. So it's nice that they have this bracket located on the back here. So let's go ahead and set that down. And next up, what you want to do is you want to make sure that this cooler actually lines up. Okay, good to go. Okay, everything seems to line up nice and good. Each one of these holes. All right. All right. So the next step is you're going to want to liberally apply, well, maybe not liberally, but you know, you can search the internet. There's so many different ways people tell you to go ahead and apply your thermal paste. Some people say just a pea-size drop. Other people say you can do an X pattern. You know, there's I believe there's a really good video on Linus Tech Tips where they actually go into different styles of how you apply the CPU paste, and it shows that there really isn't any significant difference or any loss of performance if you do it one way versus another. You know, you can't use too much unless you're like caking it on there and it really fills in there. So we're just gonna go ahead and apply a nice little part in the center, nice little blob, and then just a little X pattern and just drag it through. That way, you know, it spreads it nice and evenly. Alright. Cool. So, that's what I did. A little bit. Alright. So the next step, you're gonna line up your CPU cooler. Alright. Get it all lined up. Then, same thing. You want to get it started. We'll do it. Same thing. We're going to do an X pattern. So we started with that one. Let's go ahead and get this one in. Come in. There we go. Okay. Might need to press down a little bit because they are spring loaded. So we'll tighten that guy down a little bit. Once we got it started, now over to this guy. Okay, get in there. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then last but not least, this guy right here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tighten this guy down. Alright. Okay, that one's nice and tight. So now we're gonna do the X pattern when we did the final tighten to this one. So we're gonna come back to this top one here. Make sure that one good and tight. Back over to this side here. We're gonna tighten this guy down. Okay. Nice and tight. And lastly, this guy here. Okay. Okay. Now, feels pretty good. All right. And then lastly, go ahead and put our fan back on. So let's see. We got our CPU fan plug in right here. So that's where this guy goes. And plug that right in there. Come on. Okay. And then come over to this side here. And then you're just going to clip your fan back in place. Alright, and we're all set. We're installed. There we go.